us a little bit more about yourself, man? I know, my Twitch was telling us a little bit more about your background, but just let us know about, the arcade experience and things like that.
Sorry, I just jumped on and was eating.
Nah, no worries, man. Do your thing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I'm pretty sure Twitch has said quite a bit about me. Me and him been friends for quite some time, but to get the gist of it, I play fighting games competitively, and I've been playing for like 20 years, and I still am playing to this day. Because of playing that, and then me and my friend Michael Murphy here, Twitch, we've gone into the realm of arcade collecting, and due to that, I started collecting arcade fighting games, and I ended up with a collection. And I used to run an arcade business in the past, and then I just recently became a vendor about a year ago, officially on my own. And I rent out my games, I rent out games, I buy games, I fix games, I help Kaboom Comics with their stuff, the Flux as well. And for Ninja Lan, I'm pretty much going to be, bringing my equipment out in conjunction with the retro consoles and the live bands and the PCs.
So what's your choice of game?
I specialize in fighting games, but I guess it depends on what genre you're referring to. But for the event itself, I'm looking for
Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Is that?
Oh yeah.
That's the game. He's also, I mean, not to sound, he is one of the best Street Fighter 2 Turbo players in the country. Like, he had a top 8 placing in Evo in 2008, etc. And I mean, MVC2 is his game. It's wild how there's still people in Hidalgo and Brownsville who are at his level, and his level is nationally good. And there's still people from the RGV that can take sets from him. But he is one of the best Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
As far as I think, was that because recently I saw an article about some sort of thing that happened at an Evo Street Fighter. Is that kind of the same? Where this combo that never happened before happened.
Strike, was it Justin?
You're talking about the Daigo moment. Everyone loves to talk about Evo and the Daigo moment, right?
Is that the same? Was that the same bubble you were in? Is that?
Yeah, no,
he was there.
I was there.
You were there? Oh,
yeah, he was in the room.
Shit. Tell us about that, man. I see IGN making some articles about it, Throwback Thursday articles. So tell us about being and seeing that. That's something different, right? That a lot of people talk about.
So going back to it, so remember, I've been playing for 20 years. And at the beginning of it, which was back in 2000 to 2010, those 20 years, they were awesome. And it still is awesome. It's just different now with the newer games. But from that time frame, from 2000 to 2010, and 2004 is when it really, really went more upscale, because Daigo from Japan, who was one of the best Japanese players with Ryu for Super Turbo and Cannon Third Strike, he's a real common, they call him the Beast. And the reason why he's called the Beast is because he always comes out clutch in very intense situations. And then Justin Wong, he's from the US, but he's actually Chinese. So he's kind of our hybrid hometown US hero, I guess you can call it. And he actually ended up fighting Daigo in pools, in a regular tournament match. And they were actually in losers. And so in Japan, they're all about fighting with honor, and they train to be the best and everything, and they don't like to hold back. And in the U.S. at the time, it was more you conserve your tech, your secrets, and you pretty much make it work to where you want to get the win, but with your technique that no one else knows about. So in Japan, they have all this hidden tech that everybody knows already, and Daigo just another Tuesday pulls off.
Another Tuesday, so he's done it before, in the community.
Yeah. In Japan, though. In Japan, yeah. So
in Japan.
Yeah, in Japan. So in Japan, something that happens all the time, where people make comebacks or they pull off this really hard string or combo or type of defense mechanism, which is called parrying in Third Strike. He just had the timing down in his head, and he pulled that off in a big tournament like Evo, where there's a bunch of ranting and crowds just shouting and talking smack or just getting hyped, and he pulled it off with all these distractions, and he just there looking at the screen,
just real chill, everyday mode, like you said, another Tuesday.
Japan is different. Even if you look at the arcade design between the candy style of Japan and American style, the Japanese cabinets are sit-down cabinets because Asian players sit down and play longer than American players, and American cabinets were designed to kind of eat quarters and to have you to come through a pizza place, etc. like that. And Japanese ones were designed for one player to sit there and just continue to feed coins in.
And a fun fact about that is I'm pretty sure he's Japanese too. I think his name is Rudolph. We have I forget the stance. You guys might know. You know what this the stance that he does where he lays down when he plays Smash Melee. And he needs like 3 chairs, and he's like, "That's just how I play. I've always played it that way." And it's just like a different culture, you know. They totally.
I've seen the wildest shit.
So he's laying on his stomach. I can't even
laying on his stomach, looking up at the TV.
15 minutes, and I'm like, "Now my elbows hurt." Like I'm out.
It's different.
We had a blind competitor at Ninja Lan 2000 at the original Ninja Lan. We had a big bracket for Soul Calibur 2. It was actually a really big and popular game. One of the local community players was blind, and he played by sound alone. And to throw salt or to throw shade, just to screw with people's heads, when he would sit at the CRT in front of the CRT, he'd sit around and he'd sit backwards. He wouldn't even look at the screen because he didn't even look at the screen because he was blind. And it would freaking blow minds out of people because you're trying to play somebody who's not even looking at the TV. I mean, it's worse enough. I mean, I know how people feel when they play against Broly Legs because he's handicapped and he just hands you your ass.
He's
and
incredible.
It's like that's its own salt. And you know, to have more physical tools than somebody, and then to have that person destroy you, it affects your manhood, your ego, your culpability, you know, as a large effect. And you know, and this kid would play backwards, and it was so salty, and I loved it. It was such a power move, and I absolutely loved it. And you know, there's competitors out there that do some of the weirdest shit that actually works out for them.
But I think that's why the video game community is so harsh, because you never know, especially like with online, you never know who's on the other side. So you always have to bring it your best. So you always talk so much.
Yeah, but shit, removing the phase for me, I've never really. I mean, I enjoyed WoW as an online game, but I wasn't always like I've always preferred kind of in-person competition.
But to do it in person, but to do it in person is another level. To talk some smack like that, man, that's awesome.
It's before my time, but they used to have this thing called Smashboards, which was basically just like a forum where you could go and like talk smack or whatever to whoever was like in the surrounding states and be like, oh, when I get to this tournament, I'm gonna whoop your butt or whatever. And they would talk dirty smack, like heavy. And we don't really have that anymore, I guess, because we have online play. But it's a different feeling, right? When you actually show up and the guy sits next down to you.
You've been talking shit to each other.
And then he turns around backwards or something. Like, you never know what could happen when you actually play them in person. But
so I guess like I think one of the questions I did have earlier was like the arcade setup. So Hamm, can you tell us a little bit more about that? What can we look forward to on the arcade side of everything?
So it's going to be a combination of things, right? So again, I specialize in fighting games. So there's going to be a couple of different setups depending on the genre of the game, right? So you have like what Michael Murphy was talking about, which is the candy caps, the sit-down caps. There'll be a couple of those there at the event. I'm also bringing a DDR cabinet, like a full-blown DDR cabinet with the speakers and the lights. And the I've been grinding really hard right now with doing some maintenance on my games.
Like a knife or something like
1 second.
No worries.
The room over there. And then the white
DDR though, man, that's gonna be intense.
Yeah, it's funny because DDR has been present in some way or form at every Ninja Lan. You know, Ninja Lan had like two to four iterations during from '98 to 2002. And there's some other ones that were still the same people, right? Shabobo was the same people, etc. But there's always been a DDR pad. I have pictures, I've vintage pictures, and there's always been a somewhere somehow. Even I didn't even plan it. Like the one that we had because Shabobo Land at the Vibe Theater. I did not plan any DDR access, and somebody just shows up with a DDR pad and a computer, and like they found a display in the back, and they just hooked it up, and they were playing DDR in the back. But this time we'll have like the right machine, the dedicated arcade machine, and they're begging for a tournament, and we're planning on giving it to them.
Dude, that's good.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, it's because the thing that comes to my mind is that viral video of that kid, like that big kid that's like just doing that DDR set like crazy. I don't know if y'all remember that. I'm pretty sure so. early versions of YouTube, like he's like dancing real hard, and then he like after everything he faints. Like I don't know if y'all remember that. It was
Hamm's got more of a finger on like the DDR community and like what's
going
on.
I remember this viral video back in the day. Like this guy was going off on DDR, and then all of a sudden, like after he finished, he just faints. Like he's like, oh, like I guess he went real hard,
Left it all on the floor.
Left it all on the floor, man.
So there's actually
the DDR players go hard, yeah.
So there's actually different types of DDR players. There's some who style, and what that means is they actually dance either blindfoldedly, they play the game backwards,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll like play it blindfoldedly, or they'll just straight up like do breakdance moves and whatnot, and they'll play on the easy setting, but they're actually showing off and I guess being flashy. And that's
it's a performance art versus a competitive art, etc.
But the competitive art, I actually was part of it for a time in my life, and man, that competitive side, like I always came out last place, and it's not that I don't have rhythm. It's just I wasn't a perfectionist when it came to like hitting the arrows with perfect precision, and it wasn't that it was bad equipment or anything. It's just my timing was always off when it came to be very precise on the beat for certain songs that were like stupid fast. And I felt like all these hard songs, if you just know that song, you have an advantage. So and if you practice it, it's like kind of going to like a Old Valley band competition where like you practice it, you memorize it, you just know it completely. So try doing that with like 300 songs.
Oh, dude.
And it's very intense.
Man. Nah, I can't even imagine that, dude. So like, okay, so one of the consoles that, or the arcades that really stood out to me the most was the Ninja Turtle setup. So how is that one gonna work?
Oh, okay. So I think you're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters.
Yeah. So that's like there's an actual fighting game that came out.
No, that's not an arcade game. That's actually a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, it'll be on the Super Nintendo. So that setup will be a physical SNES with an RGB hookup to a PVM monitor. And usually what we have is something called an EverDrive in the Super Nintendo. So it's got the full library of Super Nintendo games, but it plays on the physical hardware. And so we'll have tournament fighters. You can kind of reset and put different games on the Super Nintendo, just like changing a card. It just makes it simpler on us, right? Because we have the physical cards. I have like a stack of, I have a, on the other
go
side.
ahead.
Yeah, there. I have like somewhere in that shelf, right? I have tons and tons of Nintendo games, but we take they're called flashcards, right? And it makes it a lot easier for us at a tournament to be able to switch through different games, right? So there's going to be a couple of SNESs and a couple of PVMs, controllers, different types of controllers. We have some fight sticks, we have some original controllers, etc. And then there's a game. I mean, if you've never played it before, it's called TMNT Tournament Fighters, right? And it's kind of like a Street Fighter 2-esque Super Nintendo game, and you can pick the turtles and a couple of the villains and heroes from the universe, and then it's a kind of like a Street Fighter style competition match. It's not Turtles in Time.
You're definitely gonna be in for a ride in that game. That game is pretty busted.
I was thinking it was Turtles in Time, and I was like, how does that work? Or like everybody has to get
everybody's been saying that. Yeah.
Like,
we're gonna have a couple of arcade cabinets there that can boot multiple games. We're still kind of figuring that out. So I don't know that we're taking any 4-player game or 4-player multi-boots right now.
I think just bring it back with what you all have, and that's awesome to be doing like Melee, be doing some arcade, some DDR stuff too.
Everything's like 1v1, like all fighting style. Yeah, mostly.
I mean, me and Hamm have ran games, and so like.
So tell us about that, man. Yeah, tell us about a few of the events that you've done already, and then I know kind of one of the things that you said you were already planning this, but it kind of got delayed with the pandemic. So tell us what you all been planning beforehand and your experience and all that.
I guess I was more focused on the PC tournament side pre-COVID, and then we kind of expanded out, and luckily I've had more support from matches in the Melee community to make it more important there. And as all the time when people ask, people are like, do you have this thing happen? Like, do you have this one game? Like, I want to play this one Obscure game. I played it as a kid. Like, chances are we will have it in some format on some system. I mean, maybe not on the arcade, maybe on the SNES, but we have a way to play a humongous library of games. The same way with Windows XP computer, or with the computers. So in the LAN party section, you can bring your own, right? You can pay for a pass and bring your own computer, right? And you bring your, like a computer behind you and stuff like that. A Windows 10 or a Windows XP, right? We're encouraging people to, whip out your old Windows XP computer and, find one in a closet from a dumpster or whatever, set it up. But if you don't, just bring your modern PC. But if you don't have either, you can also rent one from us, and it'll have almost all of the 90s/2000 games pre-installed on it. It'll be ready, set up. You can bring your own. It'll have a mouse and a keyboard. You can bring your own mouse and keyboard if you want, but it'll have, there's 50, 60 games that are kind of in the library for the event. And that list is on our website on ninjalan.com.
Okay.
and you can just definitely sit down and not have to worry about anything. But if you're kind of more do-it-yourselfer, bring your own Windows 10 PC. We'll have a file share with a bunch of games that you can just simply install and instructions on how to do that. And as far as how the event is panning out, I think that it's almost, COVID was a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. And man, do I hate what it's done to the country and the lives that we've lost and stuff like that. I being able to do an event afterwards safely and say, hey, let's look at a little joy and bring a little joy and stuff like that. So there's a little more hype kind of now, just based on the fact that people have been cooped up. People have been behaving themselves. They've been, putting all the effort that they needed to. And, we see that all the time. And so, now that we can kind of be a little bit laxer and things are going back to normal, I think there's definitely a little bit more buzz, a little bit more excitement about, that. And then plus during the pandemic, so many people reached back to nostalgic things.
Right.
We talked about it time and time again about the increase in vintage collecting right now, and we've absolutely seen Switch prices went up, and vintage games went up, CRTs went up, so many things have gone up in price because people are out there, especially because people are getting that money checks, right? Getting that
they're like, hey man,
give my stimmy, let me get a little order some of that random old games that I wanted to play. And so I think it leaves a lot of room for success in having a couple of what we want out of the event is somebody to pay to come in, play old nostalgic games that they loved, enjoy the vintage and retro feel, kind of step back into the 90s and 2000s when arguably the world was better, right? We were younger, we didn't have bills to pay.
Like that Nickelodeon effect, man.
Yeah,
Remember
exactly.
Nickelodeon? Like it's kind of like walking into
there.
that. Dude, that was kind of like the vibe that you always wanted. Like you go in there, you go play, have fun, and that's it. And I think that's what y'all are gonna bring to the table. That kind of nostalgic effect, like we're talking about, man. That's awesome stuff. So
and also to build those relationships, right? Like to meet the communities there, the FGC community and the the arcade community, and see that like they can come back for more nostalgia feel, in other events, other tournaments or whatever.
I always meet somebody, that I haven't known before that I'm glad to know after the fact or whatever. I've always, being the veteran here of having been to several LAN parties, I always leave like just absolutely shaking from the caffeine intake, etc. You leave tired, right? Just absolutely like entertained in a sense of like, I just, I don't know how many times, like as adults now with our busy schedules and shit, where you get together and you get to play an hour of games with your friends, and then somebody has to go or something comes up, or your girl calls you or your wife calls you or your kids need something or some shit like that. And you kind of have to put it down and stop. Right. And like, I try to run a D&D group, right? And like, man, it's so difficult just trying to get my guys together. You run a podcast. I'm sure you know what scheduling is like. Just get, 4 people in a room at the same time. And the great thing about an event is like people put the weekend aside and they come down and they're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm gaming for 27 hours, and I'm going to sleep for 6. And like, and there's a more satiated feel, right? Like a satiated feel of like, my wife's out of town and I sat around in my underwear and I ate Doritos and played video games all fucking weekend, right? Like,
and I have no regrets.
I have no regrets. It's the best way that I ever spent a weekend. And that's kind of the post-LAN feeling of I just spent a ridiculous amount of time with friends, kind of the same feeling, post-con. Great amount of tons of friends, and I got all the time that I wanted, and I wasn't left. That's the shoot, right? The not to be wanting left for more. That's one of the reasons we're doing it 36 hours straight, doing it through the night, 2 days, not just one day. Come at 8, leave at 10 p.m. That's not what we're shooting for.
Yeah, you can stay up till like 3 a.m. There's still gonna be stuff going on all night, like whatever time you're gonna be awake.
Yeah.
Are y'all gonna be trying to? So I know you say you stream a lot too. So are y'all gonna be doing that? I know.
So there's some technological restrictions based on like this is a public venue. Yeah, okay, we don't know what the internet's like. I'm gonna meet with their IT staff and have some conversations about the total bandwidth. But it's a hotel, and a lot of the times hotels don't have separate VLANs or separate networks to control the amount of bandwidth. So we're probably vying for the same bandwidth that normal hotel guests will vie for. So
Right.
we're definitely going to have limited access for, a lot of people can record locally, there, whatever's going on, like stream from their own computers and stuff.
Mhm.
We know we're trying to stream the Melee tournament, all aspects of the Melee tournament. We're trying to stream the arcade tournaments, right? Like all the live arcade tournaments, but we are a little concerned of like, we don't know, there's a limit of how much support we can, like everybody's not
Right.
individually going to be able to stream. And all the games we have work offline. All the arcade games, all the console games, all the tournaments can be held without any internet connection whatsoever. People can check the internet from their own cell phones. There is a component, and I talked about this previously, of LAN parties starting to die, and the internet is actually what started to really hurt LAN parties. So and I understand that like monetization and streaming and the influencing or whatever, and this is an important part of gaming today. It absolutely is. And I love platforms like Twitch and stuff like that. But we also kind of want to not lock people into, but when there is no internet access, especially in this older style of retro game style, people tend to play games more, right? Like people tend to not like log into their Facebook and check their mail and fucking get on their like chat Discord and do other things. The focus kind of becomes more let's sit down and play these games. The same, I'm sure, match like when you come to a Melee tournament, you go to play Melee, right?
Yeah, I don't check my phone. I'm not on socials or anything. Yeah, you just dialed in.
So the technical constraints,
especially when there's money on the line.
Yeah, there's money on the line. So the technical constraints kind of, we do want, we have one group of 4 guys. They want to live stream Skyrim for about 36 hours straight. They may just record it and post it later. Right. And it's just no way to know what the bandwidth constraints are going to be until the day of, right? Even if we went tomorrow and tested it and we had high bandwidth availability based on amount of users, amount of traffic, the lack of ability to set QoS rules, all the other technical constraints, we just have no way to rely. We can reliably ensure a local internet, like a local area connection, but we can't reliably ensure any kind of internet access.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things you don't have really control of, and it sucks. But I know there's going to be, you don't know how many people are going to be online, or that's kind of what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, and I almost don't want, a lot of people to have too much internet access for that reason, because I do want there's rules to this. There's like, no games after 2004. I don't want people coming in.
Right.
People aren't coming to play Overwatch, right? Overwatch is a great game, and I love it. I love playing the game, but this is not an event that you're gonna come and play Overwatch.
There's the door. You can go.
And I think that's the beauty of it. Hamm, you have anything as far as I know? They were talking about your experience with owning an arcade. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So before I get into that, I mean, it's all conjunction. So I guess the hobby itself, collecting, playing, restoring, trading, buying, whatever you want to call it.
I'm sorry, guys. I just jumped the setup. I'm so sorry.
Nah, you're good, bro. You're good. It's a beauty. That's a beauty of podcast. It's a beauty of podcast.
When an arcade falls down,
I'm gonna leave that part out. I'm gonna leave that part in.
We're good. We're good.
Nah, just kidding.
No, so when an arcade breaks, it's pretty tough because it's hard to find. It's hard to source parts. You got to make sacrifices sometimes to get another copy of another game that works to make another game work, or you have to outsource parts or repull parts or whatnot. But it's all part of the passion, is what I'm trying to say. And Twitch can back me up on this, because when a game is down, sometimes it can take years, months.
I've almost dropped so many into my front yard and set them on fire. And I'm not saying that like facetiously or something like that. Like I've literally, like I've given games away because they've frustrated me so much. We call them caca cabs, right? Like it's a term between like the group. They're called caca cabs. We've found like we've come home from auctions with cabinets filled with concrete and laundromat coin mechs and just security screws that you can't find a bit, that you have to literally go to like a specialty hardware store to try to find the right adapter to, like like how tires have like a security key. You can't get that bolt off without that key.
Dude, for real, I used to work with a bus company, and it was like that. Like each bus is different. Like, and you would go to like the Volvo and hopefully look for a part, but then it was kind of the same thing, not a different thing. But dude, wow, with arcades, I can't even. Yeah.
So
what do you got there? What's that?
So this is something I was going to mention earlier, but I got distracted. Was talking about something else. So you're asking, okay, like arcade hardware, right? So in my hand right now, I have a cartridge. Look how big this thing is. So Twitch knows what this is.
So it looks like a
CPS2.
console, yeah, pretty much.
Well, they consoleize them now, but those are the engines that sat inside of Capcom cabinets. So that's the CPS2, right? And there's a CPS1, 2, 3, CPS1 AB. But yeah, it actually has an A and B side. So the top half is the game cart, the bottom half is kind of like the system or the engine or whatever. So you can actually remove that top cart and put in a different one or whatever, and that's how arcade operators would switch games. From different Street Fighter 2 would come out with new versions, or you go to Alien versus Predator 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah. So with this in my hand, this is actually Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and the cartridge alone now it's probably worth like $400 now, just alone. But the reason why I was presenting it is because I'm gonna have the option to play on a cabinet, which I also have over here. I have a camera. I have a video surveillance system in my house.
Okay.
And I actually have friends over right now.
Oh, dude, that's a set. That's the setup somebody was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, that's Hamm's Game Cave. Yeah.
I call it the Hamm Cave.
That actually works really well. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are the sit-down Japanese ones. That white one right there, the two white ones.
Okay.
And then
Oh,
over
so
here,
like the ones that you say where you have to sit down.
Yeah,
And
those
okay.
are the Japanese style. Yeah, and if you go to Tokyo to this day, and you go to like the Sega arcade, you go to Akihabara, almost all the cabinets are that style and that design. Especially the older retro ones. The newer ones are Vuelix, and they have plasma screens or LCD screens instead.
So in
but
Japan,
still sit down.
In Japan, they make sure to keep everything up to date and everything with their arcades. Oh wow.
The arcades, they'll release like Street Fighter 5 on an arcade. And they'll have a digital version for it. Street Fighter 4, they had an arcade version. Tatsunoko versus Capcom had a they're called Vuelixes, Kraylixes, Taito Egrets, etc. There's a couple of different names, but they're still producing like new games with arcade sticks and LCD screens in a sit down style, and then they'll kind of put those on the bottom floors. And then the retro games still remain on the top, because in Tokyo, most arcades are actually floor level. And then you group a little fun. Both me and Hamm have been to Tokyo.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. And so you'll actually, all the games are kind of organized by style, right? And I mean, if you play on an emulator, you can group by style, right? Like shmup, puzzle, rhythm and dance, right? So there's a rhythm and dance floor, there's a UFO catcher floor, and then there's like fighting games floors, and then there's like action games floors, and then like shmup and beat 'em ups and floors and stuff like that. So they kind of organize it like that, but the UFOs are always on the floor one. Yeah, that's a Vuelix style cabinet. So Street Fighter 4 or Tatsunoko versus Capcom, or like Tekken 7 would come out on something like that. So you can go to a Japanese arcade to this day, even though unfortunately some of them are closing down. You can go to Japanese arcades today and play Tekken 7 on a Vuelix cabinet.
That's a badass little motto, Hamm.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it at?
Japan.
Online? Oh, you can buy those in Japan? Oh, damn.
You can buy anything in Japan.
You can buy anything.
I came
you
back
can buy
from the
anything
flight.
in Japan. You can buy
anything in
tentacles.
Japan. You could. I came back from Japan, so I went to shop. I spent 4 or 5 days in Akihabara, and I'm a console collector as well. So I had packed about 2 bags of luggage or whatever, and I was out of luggage space. I mean, no more. And everything after that, I would have had to start paying like $300 $300 an extra box that I would ship back, and then I had to manually carry it with me to the airport, right? So the Uber gets you to the front, but they're not going to help you take your 6 boxes of fucking collected shit and get it over to the airport check-in bag. So I had a bunch of Super Famicom games, so I was shoving them in pockets, and so I had a hat on, and the last 2 games I couldn't get into pockets. I had on top of my head, held in place by my hat. And so then when I got to the security, and you have to get scanned through security, and so I had to take my hat off, take the 2 games out, put those on the security belt, take out of my back pocket, out of my sock, out of my fucking like my underwear and shit like that, and I'm pulling like all these games out of, like, I look like one of those guys with the watches and shit like that, where the watches just come from everywhere. And
hey, you want to buy a game?
Yeah,
right.
And I literally held 2 games in my hand through the flight, because I took them off, like my hat off, and I'd held 2 games, like I put them down in my seat, like blah 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 or whatever. It was super uncomfortable, and that's the only way I got all my stuff back.
What about you, Hamm? Were you sneaking in some stuff too, Hamm, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it sneaking, more like I just bought another luggage bag and I put everything in there.
Yeah, I overbought. I overbought for sure.
No, man, that's cool stuff, man, and that's good to hear. Like, especially, I mean, Japan. I wouldn't even think that there was like a UFO catcher type of thing. I don't know what would that
Oh, man.
be. What
That's
is that?
that's the claw. So you know the claw with the
I
those
see.
are those that's
Okay.
the term for it. It's called the UFO catcher.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is that? I was like, is that like a totally different genre? But it
The
sounds like
claw. You remember the fucking guys in Toy Story or whatever? It's the claw.
It's a claw.
Yeah.
now it kind of feels like they have it set up like a casino. Like I used to do trips to casinos, and it's kind of like that, where like you walk in, has those beautiful colors, those lights, and those old ladies just get addicted to it. I don't know what
It's
is.
weird because Tokyo arcades, you can smoke in arcades, and there's a lot of cigarette burns. Some of the equipment that me and Hamm will get as like
Oh,
we
is that
order it.
kind of like right there? What he's showing us right there?
Yeah,
What
it's
is
a
that?
PCB and a power supply. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Hamm, what game is that?
That is actually the insides of an NBA Jam.
Oh, dude, are you gonna have that there?
Everyone
Probably
keeps
not.
asking us to bring NBA Jam. I think we're gonna have to bring NBA Jam, dog. Like
I was
don't
actually
know, man.
playing that the other day.
I think
like,
that's for
dude, when I was
customer,
telling
though.
you, I was
Yeah.
playing Mortal Kombat was one of the games that he had, and then of course look at the emulators, you can do whatever the fuck, and he had NBA Jam, and I started
Yeah.
playing NBA Jam, and I lost, 68.
We'll
to
definitely
7,
have it
but
on the
whatever,
Super
I mean,
Nintendos and the Wii's and
It was
stuff
fun
like
still
that, yeah.
playing. Nah, dude, that's cool. I like what y'all are doing, man.
So one thing I forgot to mention. So aside from the arcade stuff,
Mhm.
like instead of playing on the cabinet, what I'm also bringing with me, because I'm gonna have some, I guess, friends and competitors coming from out of town. They're gonna be bringing their own arcade joysticks because they used to play on console and stuff. So
Mhm.
now there's a way. I mean, it's been around for a while. I'm bringing something called a super gun. It's an appliance, I guess you can call it, that allows you to bring the board.
Okay.
Instead of playing in a cabinet, because right there, that's a big mess, right? It's like
Got joysticks, got buttons,
Yeah, so now there's a way to like make it work where you bring this appliance and it'll boot up. You bring the board with you on a table, you just connect it, and then it has USB decoders, and it just allows you to play on these PS3, PS4, Xbox 360 joysticks or pads, and you can map your controllers to it. But that's only for like the more mainstream fighting games where people might be complaining about like, well, I don't want to play in the cabinet, I want to play on
Oh, I see.
my joystick.
I only play Xbox. I only play PS4.
Yeah.
Like that type of audience.
There's a bunch of restraints. Even Broly Legs requires a certain type of controller, or he can't compete in the game because there's only certain controllers that he can use.
Yeah, I had to get a thing.
Broly Legs. What?
Broly
Legs. Yeah.
Oh.
He plays
he
with his
Xbox
cheek, right?
controller. He plays with his cheek,
he's incredible.
a part of his hand, and his tongue and his cheek. And most of the manipulation he uses his tongue through his cheek against the controllers. But like he can't play with a PS4 controller. He needs a 360 controller.
Yeah.
So David actually with one of those what he's talking about is called the undammed USB decoder. So he had made for him, I think he still has it. He made for him a decoder which will there's lots of ways to convert, to be able to use an Xbox 360 on a Nintendo or a GameCube or a PS3 or a PS4, etc. But he's a competitive gamer, and previous to that, he didn't have a way to compete in certain games because the control. And it's not just an issue for Broly. Like, I mean, there has been a lack of, quite frankly, there's a lack of support from Nintendo and Sony about accessibility, and it's honestly a crying shame. And like there are people that have come out with solutions. Like Avengers was a company, and they came out with a remappable, reconfigurable. It was called an Avenger controller. It had a lot of assistive devices which would allow people that had all sorts of handicaps or different physical dimensions or requirements to play certain games. But there was a bunch of problems with like the developers not wanting to open up their APIs for button mapping because they didn't know how to make it secure to stop macros. Like there's a big problem with I mean, there can be a problem with cheating, right?
So that's kind of why Microsoft took on that opportunity, right? Because they made that controller recently.
They're starting to. Yeah, everybody's trying to make the opportunity to make like handicap assist controllers or more accessibility controllers. But there's been a technological problem that depending on how you open the API or button remapping and configuration, you expose a surface that you can, I'm sorry to talk in technical terms, but you can allow the introduction of like button remappings or macroing, and macroing macroing would break melee, right? So if you allowed macroing in melee, you would people could win the game with like a few button presses.
Yeah, it's actually something we're working on. Well, not me personally, but I guess like the panels at the community national level are trying to figure out. There are these controllers that recently came out, and they're a great idea. Like Twitch was saying, like we need more accessibility, and Nintendo never gave us anything. So these people actually form these companies, and they're great because people actually develop a lot of hand pain. Just playing all sorts of games, especially FGC games, those high
Carpal tunnel,
games, Carpal Tunnel, and just for other similar disabilities, they developed this fight stick for melee, and you could plug it in, and it works great. But like Twitch was saying, it's still kind of a little bit in the gray area because there's some macros that can maybe be there. Even with the GameCube controllers, people actually took the GameCube controllers, and I'm in the camp where I don't know enough about it yet to really know exactly where it falls, but people actually cut in little corners in the notches of the GameCube sticks.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
perfect angles. Yeah, and they're all great ideas. It's just we just don't know where it lies right now. But I do think for accessibility,
I guess like the standard, right? Like I guess as far as like a standard with the gaming companies, they really don't have that yet. With that,
yeah. Like now when it gets competitive, because the communities themselves set the rules, they set the structures, they set the competitions and stuff like that. And physical hardware manipulation to controllers or devices really is outside of their purview, right? They can release a controller, but they can't control whether people make modifications. Like with the melee controller, there's the L and R buttons. There's ways to make them stiffer or to like there's actual travel, right? If you think of like an R trigger, there's travel
and analog travel.
Yeah. And there's 3D printed pieces that reduce the travel time. So you've actually got a competitive bonus.
All the way down to 3D printing?
Yeah. Yeah.
They cost upwards of $400, $500 for these controllers just for modifications. And like I'm in the camp where I'm always going to play probably till the day I die, just classic how it is. But I don't hate people. I don't hate on people that need these modifications, that they have finger pain or they have hand pain. I think they're good.
Yeah, but some of them aren't needed. Some of them are I'm literally trying to hack the system in the sense of like, you know, I mean, when it comes, I mean, seconds matter in a car race, right? You know, and like, you know, if somebody's able to block shield because their travel it's just like a gun, right? Like I play airsoft and I modify my triggers to have a shorter throw or shorter travel, which means I can make the BBs come out faster and stuff like that, right? So I have a competitive advantage and I don't care. And I play in, you know, it's widely accepted though. And there's no ruling system and there's chronoing rules and stuff like that. And they make, you know, there's brackets to this stuff or whatever. There's rules, but it's generally like you can't have a rate of fire higher than this, or you can't shoot like one trigger, one BB comes out.
Right. Like there's nothing that's going to come to the point where it's like, oh, I modified my controller, so if I push B, I get a combo on you.
Well, like turbo buttons and stuff like that, right? Like, you know, like turbo buttons are banned from almost any type of tournament play because it's wildly like if you're going to play the game, you have to be able to press the button at the rate in which you know in which the game requires you to press the button. Like
but I think that's the thing too that just kind of fascinates everybody. That it's kind of people are still doing that to get those advantages at those games.
Yeah, right.
And those like melee, like people are still trying to make their GameCube controller perfect, where they can still, you know,
there's visual mods. There's there's people have spent $2,000, $3,000 on a melee controller.
I think I'm just confused. Like, why don't these companies take advantage? Like, you know, they're always trying to come up with new stuff, but I think that's just what it is. Like, they're always doing these new skins, and I think they're just trying to get into that market more too, where you have to download this software.
I've seen some companies with good values and good intentions, and wanting to do something, but it does expose security or break set rules and stuff like that or whatnot.
Well, what's that you got right there? What's that right there? Hamm,
okay,
what's
so
that?
A different discussion on the same topic. So one problem I've always had in the past is I've had to actually make my own joystick, and what that means is like I've gone from like owning a Super Nintendo joystick to a PlayStation joystick to a Dreamcast joystick, and then eventually USB came out and that became a standard. So then the Xbox 360 had a joystick, PS3 had a joystick. So then after that, I was thinking to myself, okay, it's all USB, I should be good. It'll work on PC, but it won't work for everything else. So if it's an Xbox 360 joystick, there's a driver for Windows for it to detect itself as native because Microsoft. Well, when you go to Sony, a PS3,
HID compliant.
Yeah. So then the issue I was having, and I still have to this day, it's either you have all these joysticks in your collection, but when you go to a tournament and you play the 4 different games that are on different platforms,
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna have to take two
Yeah.
sticks to a turn, two stick, and I'm extra, right? Like I've got expendable income. I have $500 joys, like custom built, color dyed, signed by Jason David Frank. One of my sticks is signed by JDF. And I still got to bet. I can't even make that work for every system I want to play on. I got to bring my other backup stick, which supports the other systems that I play on and stuff. It's just wild or whatever. So
and all these games are old, so it's like for a lot of them, you can't find new equipment for it. You just have to work with what you have. It's like
but you can make new equipment work with adapters and converters. It's just a pain in the ass.
True. Yeah. That's true.
That's what we've been doing.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, that's what we've been doing. Like we've been getting adapters, converters, or sometimes. Like back in the day, like this is like a nightmare for us. We would actually have to.
So tell us a little bit more about the challenges. Like especially getting these
controller.
Yeah,
and you fucking rip it open and you wire those buttons to your joystick. That's how it works.
So making sure that you have all these consoles prepared. Like how does that? Like tell us a little bit more about that, Hamm. Like what you're going into detail about that right now.
And in the past, so I used to play Super Turbo on PS2. And then I used to play Marvel Strike 2 on Dreamcast. So there was a converter out at the time, but it was like $80, and that was a lot of money for like 2004, 2003. And we're kids, right, or we're out of high school, what do you want to call it? But what I ended up doing is, since I knew electronics to a degree at the time, well, I would actually like read up on it, and I'm like, okay, how does someone make two consoles work on one joystick? So like what Twitch said. We literally gutted a controller. So I'll go to the flea market in Alamo. Shout out to the flea market.
The Mercadom or the Alamo flea market.
You can find anything there, bro.
Honestly.
What's that now, by the
way? Almost all my Melee controllers come from like the Alamo flea market that I pick up. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I'll buy like beat up controllers, stuff without a cord, whatever. Or if third party Mad Catz Performance or whatever you want to call them, I would just buy them and I would open it up. Cut what wasn't needed, and the analog joysticks we wouldn't use. We would use the D-pad, so we'll have to solder out directly onto those. So I'll get a Dreamcast controller and I'll get a PlayStation controller, and I would put them both inside a joystick, which were Americanized at the time, not like what I showed you right now, which is Japanese. So these Americanized joysticks were boxes, like as big as a shoebox,
like the Pelican. That was a big ass fight stick. That was a big boy fight stick.
like Street Fighter Anniversary joysticks that they had, made out of wood, real big and thick.
MDF wood too, not even good wood, like just shitty MDF. Yeah.
And it was enough to fit like 3 or 2 controllers inside of it. So and then we had to get like a switch, kind of like a light switch, right? So you put left, that's PlayStation. You put right, that's Dreamcast.
Damn.
So that was how your face back then.
Damn.
And that was all custom.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
Yeah, no one talks about that anymore.
What the?
And now,
so it was 2 consoles operating under one, like
yeah. So like you had a mechanical switch, like a DPT throw, and the mechanical switch would change, would basically change what electrical connection for 2, and then you would so basically before you hooked it into the Dreamcast or the GameCube or whichever your 2 systems were, you do a throw like a like it's a potentiometer, and it would throw, and then it would know which signals to connect to which terminals, and then it would work on the console.
They were bridged, so like you're unbridging it when you're not using it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Choose one.
Dude, no, that's awesome. I'm loving all this stuff that we're talking about, man. I want to do like a nostalgia podcast where we just focus on that, man. But we can go on all day. We're already hitting about almost 1:38 right here. But tell us a little bit more about, what are you looking forward to? We'll start with you, Twitch. Like this event, what are you looking forward to? And what are people excited about?
I mean, the thing I kind of like after hours, and maybe that's been a piece of the focus or whatever. I like the tournament play. I like all the other components, but I really enjoy like 11 to 6 a.m. that component of like still hanging out, making a run to Taco Bell or some shit like that. Or now we're gonna have food there, and we're gonna have really good food there, really nostalgic snacks, and like we're gonna make like some kids cuisines, but like gourmet kids cuisine and shit like that. It's gonna be wild. But I love the idea of the after hours hangout. At cons, one of the things that I love is just playing Munchkin at like 4:35 in the morning and stuff like that. So I mean, I have a bunch of alumni that are coming, that have been at Ninja Lands with me, at the Ninja Lands that I've thrown before. I'm excited about playing with them. I'm excited about kind of the midnight hour, the after hours and stuff like that. A couple of hotel parties that are going to go on. That's kind of the piece that I'm excited about. Overall, the event, sure. I mean, I'm wildly, looking forward to the Counter-Strike 1.6 tournament because that's probably the only one I'm going to competitively play in. Ooh. And so that one's kind of like important to me. And just overall, I'm excited about the community getting together and having a great time. And so we've talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, if you guys are curious, if you're interested, we have a Facebook event page. We have a website, it's ninjalan.com. It's got all of the details, all the information. It'll redirect you to our registration website page. You can buy a computer pass, or you can buy just a console arcade pass, 1 day, 2 day. The computers are both days, and you can also call up the Echo Hotel if you think you're coming. You reserve your hotel room now because we've only got a certain block, and after that's gone, we don't know what's we don't know.
You're saying even like people are coming from all over, like matches. Like who are you looking forward to seeing? I guess what is your guess? Who do you think is going to win the Melee tournament? You have a lot of people coming in. You have a couple of top people from Texas.
Yeah, so we have a lot of great people coming out. I'm super excited for the Melee tournament. We have obviously like the local guys like me, like I'm not gonna win, but we have people from here who have a good shot. We have ALP, who's probably a top 100 player at this point. He's played with some of the best in the world. Through Slippy, you're able to enter these online tournaments, and he's performed very well. But as far as who's gonna win, ALP's got a shot, but we do have Albert that has said that he's most likely gonna come down here. He's just gotta send me the okay. That you got to check something with work or something. He's number 30 in the world or something like that, and we're really excited to see him here. But Melee is such a intense momentum.
He could get knocked out in pools. Yeah,
he could get knocked out in pools, or maybe he could just miss something, fall off the stage, and that's it. It's going to be very fast.
Maybe a pelican will attack him while he's playing. I don't know. Yeah.
Anything
could happen. It's going to be really competitive.
It's going to be very, a sight to watch for sure, because you're going to see a lot of really high level play here in the RGV, and we got home turf advantage, so it's going to be very exciting for
That's
us.
Awesome. And are you planning on doing more Melee? Let me know about that too, man. I mean, I want to.
Of course, for sure. I'll message you. Yeah.
Yeah, we can work on something. I like this whole flashback, type of thing, and I want to see if we can do more of these after y'all's event too. Hamm.
Sure.
As far as what are you looking for? I know DDR. Are you looking forward to that, or what? You want to see some people's new dance moves, or some people you haven't seen in a long time in that community? How is the DDR community down here in the Valley? I know what Gaddy's does it still have the DDR? Is that like the only spot?
The only thing I can say right now as far as that is DDR, they're pretty hungry. But right now, since there's no venue that has the game, they haven't
so they took it down there too? I remember Gaddy's was always like, everybody would always pack that one up like to play. And I was just like,
what about Austin Street Bar? I thought they had I heard something about them having there, no? I thought they had a machine there.
The thing is,
I think they closed down. I passed by the other day and there was empty.
Oh man!
People confuse Pump It Up with DDR sometimes, and I don't know if you guys know.
Oh, you're right.
And anyways, that's its own community. When they found out about this event, they were asking which machine I was taking because I have 3 DDR machines, and they asked me, "Okay, like, are you just taking it for fun?" I'm like, "Listen, if you guys want to throw an event,
if you want to have a dance off, we're gonna have a dance off."
I've come more and more around to the I can commit to making a tournament structure or whatever we need. We're probably gonna make a tournament around DDR.
So that sounds fun, man.
Something else to add. So DDR is not my forte. Like I am cool with the community. I talk to them. They're also my friends, but I don't like they're playing on like metal pads at home right now because there's no arcade to go to right now. And that's fine, right? And they're playing on something that's like on PS2 or like emulation. On my side, remember, I've been playing fighting games for 20 years. And right now, something beautiful just happened that I've been wanting to happen for quite some time. So, you guys know Josh Lopez, right? He was supposed to be here, but I don't know if he showed up for a bit or took off.
He was on the earlier part. Yeah.
Okay. So, Josh, so when quarantine started, I was having a lot of games in my house. As you saw my Hamm cave. Well, when quarantine got worse, and I thought martial law was coming at the time. We started getting curfews, and some people were scared to go out. We were in effect for that for a while, and I only had like 2-3 friends hanging out with me every now and then. And before it was like every day we'll be playing. Well, Tekken 7, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Marvel Strike 2, Killer Instinct, Capcom vs. SNK 2, like all these different fighting games that we played back in our time. I mean, I'm still playing them to this day. And then when COVID and quarantine just happened, like I was resorting to playing online. I didn't like it, but the online play did get a little better because developers just had more time because of quarantine and whatnot. So now, about a week ago, 2 different communities contacted me, and when I had my arcade business 2 years ago, I was holding the fort for like 3 years, and even before that, at my house, at my business, and then now back to my house. Well, those communities contacted me, and you're seeing it for yourself. They're back.
Oh, breaking the seal.
Nature is healing, bro.
That's what I like to see, bro.
Yeah, so they're actually waiting for me because they have some questions. They're looking for monitors and stuff. But
there you
I told
go.
I told them I'm busy. I'm trying to get them hyped for this event.
And it is, man. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, and what's happening right now is just like what Twitch was saying. It's been a while. And there hasn't been any event for a while. Everyone's been stuck at home, or they're being careful, or they're just
Anime Boom is the next thing that's going to come out of Ramsey shop or whatever, and it's in October, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that event. Yeah, I need to get with Ramsey. I know he's a real cool dude. I met him one time when I was working at the paper. Because I was
huge part of the game community. I mean, he's held on the Ultimate community, the Match of the Gathering tournament community. I mean, South Texas Comic Cons have been great events, etc., and been great for the Valley, one of the bigger events. But his first event out of quarantine will be in October, and that'll be Anime Boom. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So you tell us, yeah, man. Go ahead, Hamm.
Oh, sorry. So something else to mention. So going back to these guys who are at my house right now, I haven't seen these guys in a year, and so Joshua Lopez during quarantine, he was one of those friends who I was hanging out with. You kind of learn who your true friends are, and then you figure out who's keeping their distance, and then you find any means to talk to each other, be it Discord, Messenger, or Facebook, or Twitter, Twitch, etc. Right? Point is, you keep up with whoever's close to you, and you're still there, right? Or people will come back to you later when things stabilize. Well, Joshua Lopez, he's been helping me grind on Mortal Kombat 3. I didn't play that game before. I own the cabinet, but thanks to him, we created a community behind the scenes, not knowing, and now we're playing like 3 times a week going on in my house. We stream as well, and I'm more likely going to be streaming tonight with the Tekken community and the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Nice.
So the streaming, it's always been there. It's just a lot of people don't know about these other games because they're on arcade or because they're in certain consoles or platforms that people either don't know about anymore or they just give up on it and they're playing on the newer platform. That's a different game, like where they have lag or they'll different timing changes or they didn't patch it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, most definitely, I'm just looking forward to everyone coming back together. I'm a big advocate of rivalries. I love
No, man, you're right about that because it makes people get better, bro. Like honestly,
and I'm part of that, like because I'm still playing these games and I'm 36 years old and I'm still like grinding and I'm still collecting arcades. I'm still, I'm just part of it and I've been part of it for a long time and it's I just think it's something that's awesome and I'm just looking forward to it because.
But a real positive, a positive competitiveness. You know what I mean? Because you could have like the real toxic ass, like, but at the same time, that person could be, not worth the shit at the same time. They could talk as much, you know what I mean? But if it's real good where that person, like where you don't see that person talking a lot of shit and they're honestly like they're good and they finally talk shit, like that's where you're like, oh, something's gonna happen. I bet that goes on a lot, right?
No, and I have my own ways of dealing with toxic people, especially if they're competitive and eventually that's I kind of not that I allow it, but it's just part of the nature of fighting games. Like there's always toxic out there, and at the end of the day, if you're gonna prove yourself, prove it in the game. Don't go burn someone's house down or whatever, you know?
Or send a SWAT team.
Has that been a prolific problem? Has there been a lot of arson in the Street Fighter 2 community?
No.
Yeah,
right. Did something happen? Like what?
Nothing like that. Just, I'm just being excessive about it.
Nothing like that. Just
there's people who take it really seriously, you know, especially when there's money involved.
I think I put tape on a guy's mouse once just because like he was, that was a big fuck you from me, you know. Like you put tape under the optical part and the mouse won't work. that was a big fuck you.
At the end of the day, we're all here to get some games in.
Yeah, man, I think that's what it is, bro. Like, I think that when I saw that y'all are doing this, I'm like, yo, man, gaming has been a part of our life for so long already. It's kind of like we just need to accept it already. And I know down here that community is there, man.
Like Matt just said, it's a nerdy. The Valley is nerdier than people think.
Yeah, like that Nickelodeon place went a long way for a lot of people's lives, and you know, I think that's going to continue to go. And when you all have the arcade setups, man, dude, it's gonna be a real throwback, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to go check it out and have some fun, and then you know, see what we can do. You know, maybe to collab on some stuff too, man. But we'll work on that for like, you know, I want to see y'all's event, see what we can do there, and then have some fun, man. I want to check it out.
Yeah,
but,
we can see you out there.
Anything, anything that y'all want to leave us? I know. So Kinetic Entertainment, tell us about that. Kinetic Entertainment, or Kinetic Media, right?
Kinetic Entertainment Media. Yeah.
Kinetic Entertainment Media. I'm sorry. Yeah. So tell us more about that, and what are your plans for the future with that?
Probably to kill that, and me and Hamm will have to create a co-company name. We've got we've got Ninja Lan, we got Kinetic Entertainment Media, we got Games at Hamm's, we got a bunch of stuff or whatever. Like ultimately in the future, you know, some of the future stuff is me and Hamm kind of having a physical storefront. Maybe, you know, we're event focused right now, as I said. Kinetic Entertainment Media is kind of it's just my generic you know, place where I can like kind of can hold my stuff. The same as Games Hamm's is Hamm's generic place to hold stuff is where we work together a lot. I do some rentals for screens and movie so outdoor projectors and screens and like retro consoles and stuff like that. Yeah, but it really put that on the back burner because of COVID, and I'm only really starting to getting into that and doing it again now after post-COVID. Ninja Lan's a focus, definitely for me. You know, ninjalan.com. Kinetic Entertainment Media is a great place, like on Facebook, to keep appraised of any events that I do, be it Ninja Lan or we do rock band karaoke.
Some rock band.
Yeah, we do like a real professional full drum, like, you know, work real drum set, you know, high quality guitars, full PA, you know, mixed out vocals, you know, rock band karaoke with a big projector and a big screen.
Dude, I want to check that out. I want to be a part of that, actually.
That's gonna be at Ninja Lan. We're definitely gonna have an area where you can really get into the karaoke, and that's gonna be one of the more fun things to do late at night, right after a few drinks. So so Kinetic is a good place to figure out what events I'm doing, and then like the events are just themselves, etc. So
and then matches. I know you're going to be doing. You've done already some Melee online, so tell people where we can find that, and then, you know, just keep being involved with the Melee community.
Yeah, for sure. So we do have a Facebook page and a Discord, and we're actually working on like a Twitter, something like that right now, something that's just a little bit more snappy, because I know Facebook, everyone's, you know, maybe sometimes mutes the notifications, or or on Discord, they don't always check it or have those. So we're trying to get another platform. But our big thing is the Facebook and the Discord. It's RGB Smash Bros on Facebook. We post all our tournaments, our streams, our online tournaments, and our Discord. And then, you know, from the Discord, you know, all the different groups of Melee players have like their own sub ones. Like, oh, they'll maybe invite you to, oh, these are the guys that like will play at someone's house on Friday or something. Or, oh, this is like the guys who are organizing the tournaments, the TOs or something. But we're on Facebook, we're on Discord. You can message me, Matthew Garza on Facebook. I answer all the questions about Ninja Lan or about Melee. Right now, that's our big one coming up. We just had a monthly, and we're going to have that monthly, I think it's 16th of July. Then we have Ninja Lan. So it's a little bit slower getting back into the IRL, but when they're happening, they're going to be huge. So just message me, yeah, just on Discord also is what I was going to say. Yeah, I have a Discord. You can find me there. Matches. I'll probably post it or something.
Yeah. Send me all that info so I can put it in the description. Hamm, as far as you, where can we find your information? I know you say that you Twitch and everything like that. So tell us more where we can find that. Excuse me, sorry about that.
So, man,
your streams.
Yeah,
your
no,
streams, yeah.
I guess I'll start off on this other section first because I'm like a hybrid of like Facebook and Twitch.
Yeah, man, I think that's what you need to be everywhere now too, and I think that's where everybody is. Like they're all over the place. Like even Patreon is one I've seen a lot of people getting some, especially in the Valley. I saw
Oh yeah,
that
me
guy.
and Hamm are gonna get an OnlyFans, right?
I was waiting for that joke. Yeah, yeah.
That Rock and Roll James guy, he has like a Patreon and he has a good audience. Like what? Like there's people in the Valley that listen to him. But yeah, no, I mean wherever people can find you.
Yeah. So to start off with, if you go on Facebook, do a search for a page called games as a one word space at space Hamms HAMMS. On there, what I have going on there is it's all like the projects I've worked on for arcades, refurbishing, modernizing, bulletproofing, stuff that I've rented out.
Bulletproofing?
Yeah, we bulletproof them. Could people be trying to shoot them?
Holy shit.
It's a term to make them not breakable. Remember we talked about earlier that like you put them in public and people kids fucking play games like this shit and then
I know like that's one of the things I'm thinking you're probably you said that you work with Kaboom Ham, so I think you're probably gonna get a lot of business with that free arcade that they're doing.
I don't even want to get into that, but they have quite big now.
But yeah, no, tell us more. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so Kaboom's been one of my #1 service calls lately. I've also done work for Starlight Burgers. Yeah,
Starlight has an arcade.
They have a couple arcades. Yeah,
yeah. One of the also did a Space Invaders, a Galaga. They even had like believe it or not, even the bill collectors that gives you quarters back. That's considered amusement arcade repairs as well. Anything that puts in a coin, like it's electronic.
They have to have the tax code. Arcades, if you operate them in a coin operating thing, they have to have a Texas comptroller stamp on them, and there's all this tax shit that you have to do. Even the thing that accepts the money and gives back money, you have to pay taxes on. Ridiculous. Yeah, that's why the fall of arcades is based on the Texas comptroller and the tax system, which never changed from the 80s to today. And so you still have to pay the same tax rate, even though they're not as profitable, which is why arcades have been fucked in the United States.
That's so rough.
I do want to, that's another podcast I want to do. Dang, that's interesting.
It's an old grandfather law. But anyway, so getting off topic here. So something else that Games and Hamms does, it's not only just arcade repairs and whatnot. I've also been recruiting players. So I recruit players for different fighting games, and Matches can actually back me up on this. Not only do I recruit players, but I also am a sponsor. So like if you're like a kid, or if you're someone my age, or if you're someone who just wants to play a certain game and you have potential, I'll donate money to the tournament, or I'll donate money for that one player to compete, or I'll take them with me to a big event in conjunction to a game that's there with mine. So that's something I do. I'm very passionate about competitive, fighting games and watching big events being streamed with a big home turf advantage, as Nacho was saying earlier, where we represent the Valley. So whenever there's big events, I like being there, and I like taking what the Valley has to offer out there. So I'm really well connected with all the different fighting games in the Valley. I know Brownsville, I know Raymondville, I know Rio Grande City, I know all the PSA, Delaware County, Cameron County, you name it. So if you name a game, I know who the top player is for that game. Dude. And if I don't know who it is, I'll find out who it is. And but this also goes to first-person shooters and Smash, of course, right, for Ultimate and Melee, and
Uncle Hamm wants you.
Yeah.
Let me sponsor you.
Well, let me know too, man. I'm down. Shit, that's awesome stuff to be that's one of the things. Well, I kind of took that step to the esports, especially during the pandemic, because how I started the RGV Strong page, I was doing trivia nights, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to make it more interactive. How can I make it more engaging? So I started doing, these esport little. I guess you could say it's more casual play, because I kind of want to do it how we're talking about. I want it to be competitive, but I don't want it to be competitive to the point where where we have to be technical about stuff. I want to go in there. We have a keg, we have something, we're having fun, and playing, just a party vibe like you all are talking about. And I think we're on the same wavelength, and that's why I kind of wanted to have you on and talk about this, because I think that's going to be the future. Everybody goes to some of these bars and they end up playing Jenga, right? So that the next step I think is going to be video games,
Yeah.
Well, at least in the Valley, because that's been a standard in like Dallas and Austin, and Recess, right. Kung Fu games in Austin, very, very popular, very, very well attended bars. So at least pre-COVID and stuff stuff like that. So I'd love
Right,
to see it
yeah.
become a standard here in the Valley.
I saw
for,
some
drinking,
breweries like
games,
they were
breweries,
there was
etc. Yeah.
yeah, they were kind of doing that. Like they were doing these smash events where it's $10. You play, you get a beer. You know what I mean? And I think
Golden
that's
Eye on the patio, like Austin, like a Spider House in Austin would do like they've got a great Spider House in Austin, fantastic patio, fantastic drinking atmosphere, and they do Golden Eye, just out in that patio all the time, little Golden Eye tournaments and stuff.
so if we can see more of that stuff,
Yeah.
like what you all are bringing to the table, I would love to see that and get it out there too. But appreciate y'all's time. Just one more thing. I know you said on Facebook we can follow, Kinetic Entertainment Media, and then Hamm, we got you as well. We got RGB, we got the melee going on too with
Which
matches.
we'll put that in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I
And
mean,
real important, NinjaLand.com. Real
right,
important.
Eventbrite,
Yeah.
Eventbrite. Go to the Eventbrite right now. How much is the ticket for?
No, it's
for the 30?
so it's ninjaland.com will take you to the event page, and that'll take you, and when you go to the registration page, it'll take you to landreg.org, which is the registration system we use.
Okay.
Tickets for PCs, $30, right? If you're going to bring your own. 40 if you're going to rent one of mine. And there's a limited amount of those. So if you want to rent one where you don't have to worry about installing games or doing any of that stuff, get that in soon. And that's for the PC area. There's also a 1 and 2 day pass for general access. That's access to the consoles and the arcade games. The 1 day pass is 15. The 2 day pass is 25. And then there's a specific third pass, and this is a melee only pass, and that is for the melee tournament entrance. So if you're going to participate in the melee tournament, you'll either need the 2 day pass plus $10, or you can just buy the melee pass, and it handles everything. So it'll give you your venue. It's called venue and prize pool. Or whatever.
If you want to do melee, you buy the pass. You're good for the entire weekend, basically, to enter melee. Yeah.
If you want to just come and check it out, you really don't want to bring any equipment with you, get the 1 or 2 day pass. If you want to bring your computer and get in on the computer gaming, get the BYOC pass. That's like a movie. It looks like a movie ticket, like where you pick your seat, and you pick your seat, pay for your ticket. And then if you want to come, but you don't have a computer, or you don't know anything about installing the old games, pick that rent a Windows XP computer from me, and you'll show up and you'll have a computer ready for you to play.
No, that's awesome stuff. And then if they are coming from out of the Valley, they can stay at the hotel too, right? So
absolutely. Or if you're from the Valley, we got a lot of people from the Valley. It's just getting a hotel.
From Brownsville, even, right?
Yeah,
just
Brownsville, or if you're driving in from Hidalgo or whatever. I live in McAllen. I'm staying there. All my staff staying there because we're gonna get drunk after hours. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Well, appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I can't say it enough, man. This is awesome. Like, I think like the Valley's ready to get back into it. And I think this is going to be one of the events where everybody's like back into it, comfortable, and going out there, especially it being July 30th and July 31st. So that's that Friday, Saturday, man. So it's a perfect time in the summer. But thanks, man. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for joining in, and anything you need from us, you let me know. I'll be happy to share it. I know, Michael, we were talking about you I already shared some stuff too that you had on there on my pages. But no, just anything in general, like events, things like that. We can have you on again and talk about it. That's kind of where I'm setting this podcast, man. So like anytime an event goes on, just let me know and we can have you on again and we can talk about what's going on and things like that. But thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. And I wish you luck this event, and it's gonna be an awesome one. Especially after seeing that feedback you're getting from people just going in to go see your little setup and all that, man. I need to go see it myself, bro. But appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all.
Yeah, man.
Thanks so much, man. Have a good one.
So
we got
Hamm
a
just
little while.
joined us.